We're looking at the model for the human brain for Bio 157. We look at this model here. The upper part of this model is the cerebrum. So this is the largest part of our brain, and you can see that there's a divider here that separates the right hemisphere from the left hemisphere. So this is as if someone is looking at you. So this is the anterior, this is posterior, so this is left still, this is right here. So if I turn it this way, we can see sort of this divider here. So everything in front of that is frontal lobe. So this is all frontal lobe here. All right. So behind that, over here, is parietal lobe. So this is the parietal lobe. This divider here, this is the temporal lobe down here. So that is the temporal lobe. And this cut right here is not actually part of the brain, but essentially everything below that is part of the occipital lobe. So that is the occipital lobe of the cerebrum. The big line down the middle, which separates the two hemispheres, that is known as the longitudinal fissure. So that is the longitudinal fissure. And this that separates the temporal lobe from the parietal and the frontal lobe, that is called the lateral sulcus. So that is the lateral sulcus right there. Looking at other parts of the brain, this is the cerebellum. As you can see, it also has two parts to it. And if we look underneath here, we can see this structure here. This is called the pituitary gland. And right above the pituitary gland, you can see this structure right here, and that is called the optic chiasma. These are actually two optic nerves here and here, and they cross over at this part called the optic chiasma. All right. So for the rest of this stuff, I'm going to have to take off the cerebellum and also the cerebrum for us to see. So we see this part right here, and this is actually right underneath, it's right underneath the temporal lobe, and that right there is called the insula. So that is the insula. So if we look at the back side of the brain here, this little bump right there is called the pineal gland. And right below that, you're seeing these four bumps right here. So these four bumps. This whole structure here is called the corpora quadrigemina. So that is the corpora quadrigemina. The upper two are called the superior colliculi, and the bottom two are called the inferior colliculi. So the upper two are the superior colliculi, the bottom two are the inferior colliculi. So those are all part of the midbrain. So the midbrain comes from, that's part of the midbrain. This is midbrain here all the way around to the front. Below the midbrain here, this structure, large structure, that is called the pons. So that is the pons. And then below that, right here, is the medulla oblongata. So that is medulla oblongata there. Until you get to where my thumb is, from there down, that's actually part of the spinal cord. So this is medulla oblongata, that's the pons. This is midbrain in this area right here. If we turn it towards the front here, we're going to see underneath the pituitary gland these two little kind of ball-like structures right there, and those are called the mammillary bodies. So those are the mammillary bodies.